My name is Ann Elaine Strickland. I'm 89 years old, and I was born in Charlotte, North Carolina, June 26, 1931. And my mother passed away when I was 16. That's why I ended up in Philadelphia. However, in Charlotte back then, we were we weren't treated like the normal Black people in North Carolina. As I might have mentioned before, we were exposed to great schools, great cars. My father had his first car at when I was 12 years old. I learned to drive when I was 12. My brother was 2 years older than me, and he said, "Sonny, teach Ann how to drive." So I'll just go on for that. But we never felt poor. And I really had nobody to teach me to want better. I was just exposed to better. But all that about the wanting better, that came from God. That didn't come from somebody talking to me about being better. We just were exposed to better. God had given me a gift of praying for people. Like for Luke 4:18, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because He's anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor and all that. So I know God wants us wealth, and there are people, and there are testimonies of people that I have, spoke with. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a pastor, and that they have success. They have been very successful financially. So what I know now and what I'm seeing now is when I saw this, what with this pandemic, I said, now is the time now. This is what I'll see is the wealth transfer and revival time. The
And
wealth
what time?
revival.
Revival. Revival. Are you attesting that to tithing, or are you attesting that to positive affirmation? What would you say, like the top
Well,
three
for
things?
me, my life, from what has happened with me, is I connected with tithing. I connected with tithing because most of the people I see who don't tithe, they're broke. Now, let me tell you about how I'm connecting with tithing, because my husband started tithing and he wasn't even going to church, but he never stopped. As a matter of fact, even if at one church I was a member of, they had envelopes, and if he would get low in envelope, down to the next envelope, he said, "And he said, uh, I need envelopes." He would send the money. He wasn't even going. He would send the money.
All right, so let me ask you this. So I'm not attached to any church, but I do learn a lot of spiritual information from my father and other elders. So would you suggest that I tithe to them?
Yes, to your father. Your father is
Absolutely.
a man of God. Tied to your father.
Yes.
It doesn't have to go to a church building. You just want that 10% out of your
Right.
hands.
Mm.
Yes.
And can I interject also my experience on the tithing? Okay, I have to also say that the tithing um is is allowing the Most High to be in your finances.
Mm.
And I know that, and I know for a fact because I tithed before,
Yeah.
and money was never a
No
problem. I
problem.
always was able to give and give and give more
Yes.
abundantly because I was receiving. So I know for a fact, and I know that, everything that my parents were doing, they were always tithing. When I stopped tithing, there was a difference. But once I ended up studying again, um, just like in terms of some civilizations like the Israelites and the Hebrews, and how they acquired their wealth so quickly. And it was through the tithing for like their feast days. They had certain times. And it is very important that you do give to the person or group or what have you that is feeding you spiritually the most. And it is 10% of your gross income if you know, when you do your check. So that's I
Absolutely.
definitely
I
know
mean,
it's a fact.
you guys gave me a feeling of it's almost like that's a cursed dollar. Like that 10%, if you keep it, it's gonna bring you down. But you so it's
It's
polarity, it's
yep,
both ends. You can keep it and kind of be bogged down by it, or you can give it away and receive your blessings. You know what I mean? And I really
exactly.
believe that my father deserved my 10%. You know what I mean? So you better start getting paid, pops.
Right.
But I want
And not
to
only that, yeah, yeah. Because
um
the thing is, it is
I
definitely
will freely
I
receive.
it is definitely you go I ended up going through the struggle. I can tell you before without tithing. Um and it wasn't pretty. And I hadn't associated it from not tithing until it was like I know, it was like, oh yeah, that's something I had stopped
Mhm,
doing. But I
mhm.
wasn't associating my struggles or anything like that. And my mindset also with this, with not tithing.
I mean, just hearing you guys talk just about ties and having a discipline to continue to give so that you can, receive. I think it's just so monumental right now,
Mhm.
especially in a time where people feel like they're struggling, they're at home, they're trying to figure out a way to financially sustain or maintain their households. I think that they get scared, the fear
Mhm.
overwhelms them, and then they don't want to give because they're
What,
they're
what,
holding on out of fear. So I think that it's so important that you still focus on the giving aspect and
but no,
highlighting the financial understanding so that that it's more rewarding to make sure that you give, to be disciplined
It's better
in
to
that giving.
give than to
what,
receive.
all right, that was a wonderful session. At the end, we
Yes, it was.
appreciate
Mhm.
all your guidance and wisdom from that standpoint because I never really looked at ties from that standpoint. You know what I mean? I definitely heard people say that paying ties, benefits you financially, but I never looked at it as I would say a financial. I always looked at it the other way. Maybe if you didn't ties, you might get some kind of negative result. You know what I mean? But that's if you believe in that. I kind of felt like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But to look at it as from a positive standpoint, that if you do ties, that's your opportunity to put the Most High into your finance.
that's
Mhm.
That's a different way to give it. You know what I mean? 'Cause I always looked at
Mhm.
ties as the pastor. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
come give me
He's
some
getting
money.
it.
Come give me some money. And then they always riding in big Benzes and got nice houses and stuff. And it's like you make you think that they only get that stuff because they're finessing the people, not because of
Mhm.
mhm,
the ties and situations. That's how I always look at it. You know what I mean? But I'm seeing it
yeah.
from a different standpoint now.
No, it's no.
It's the
I'm a
other way around.
yes. Just the opposite. It's
Mhm.
just the opposite. Because God, all God wants to do is bless us. That's what I see, and I didn't realize that because I objected to it at first too, and then I couldn't forget it, and then I had to finally start with no money. I mean, you know what I mean? With no money, I
Mhm.
because it was just broke. But I had to put that money in, and it started from there. Not
Right.
And I
praying
guess
over
that's the
money
real
or
sacrifice.
anything.
If you got a whole bunch of money, then it's easy to tie. It's really about when you don't have the money, are you willing to sacrifice so the Most High can sacrifice for you type love. And I always
Mhm.
looked at it like, you know, giving to the church. So it's like, it's almost like a money scheme. You got a whole bunch of people, what I'm saying, giving to one source, but you're not actually giving them any actual money back. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that's what
Right,
they would consider a Ponzi scheme when you get, money coming in and you're not giving any money back. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how
right.
I
Mhm.
always looked
But you know how I think about it also. I mean, since that time, and I think about it all, who has given me the ability to make the money?
Mhm.
If it wasn't for God, I wouldn't even be making any money.
right,
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
The
mean,
thing
that's
is,
you got to
another
speak
way.
about
That's another way I think. Now I had nobody talk. Different things come to my mind at different times. So if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even be making anything. See, my whole life I owe to God. my whole life.
Mhm.
And like right now, I said, God, all of you, none of me. All of you, none of me. Because this is why I go back to this prayer, Matthew 6. And when I look back at my life, and you have to say, you know, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, right? And just a couple, 2 or 3 years ago, I started looking back at my life. And that prayer we had to pray every night. Thy kingdom come in my life. I didn't know this then. Thy will be done in my life as it is in heaven.
Mm.
There's no sickness in heaven. There's no poverty in heaven, right? Woo!
There's no
And
fear.
wait. And now I'm saying, when I go to the mailbox, I say, your kingdom come for every
Mhm.
little thing, because he wants to be a part of our lives.
Right.
As it is in heaven.
Mm.
There's no failure, no poverty, no
So a lot of
sickness.
times in the Christian faith, they got the people waiting for heaven. But you saying, no, you get your heaven right now here on earth.
It says
Right.
thy kingdom come on earth
Right,
as it is in heaven.
right.
Mhm.
On earth through me, through you, through us.
Mhm.
Your kingdom come, kingdom living. Woo! Your kingdom type living on earth through me, because I'm here on earth as it is in heaven. I didn't always know that or think that, but when I look back at my life a few years ago, I said, yes. Because see, I didn't have anybody pushing me, you ought to be this and you ought to do that and all that. I owe it all to him, all of it. And he did some great stuff. I'm telling you, I mean, he I didn't even know what an engineer was back then. Had me marry an engineer, electrical engineer, who drew up the plans for the first nuclear submarine.
Submarine. Right.
Wow.
Right,
What
the
do you know?
It's real
Polaris
history.
down in Washington.